You know, every company, doesn't matter if it's big or small, has a treasure trove of valuable assets. But the most critical one? It's usually invisible. It's financial data. Seriously, think of it like the gold in a royal treasury. To protect it, you're going to need a lot more than just a locked door. You need a fortress. And today, we're basically handing you the blueprint for that fortress. So let's start by checking out the perimeter. So let me ask you straight up, how secure is your company's treasure? Is it just sitting out in an open field, or is it actually protected by stone walls, watchtowers, and some really loyal guards? Because believe me, in the world of finance, the siege never, ever ends. The threats are real, and they are absolutely constant. All right, so before we can even think about building our defenses, we have to understand what we're really up against. All of our financial data lives inside something called an accounting information system, or AIS. And trust me, that thing is under constant siege. So what is this AIS? Well, think of it as the central nervous system of your company's finances. It's everything. Every transaction, every payroll run, every single sale. It is the digital vault where all that treasure is kept. And just like any vault, it attracts a whole lot of unwanted attention. The first threat isn't some malicious villain in a dark room. Nope, it's something way more common. A simple error, a typo, a misplaced decimal point, a system glitch. Now, these might seem like small things, but an innocent mistake can totally corrupt your data, and that can lead to some really bad decisions and financial losses. It's kind of like a crack forming in the foundation of your vault. Okay, now we can talk about the villains. Fraud is when someone intentionally tries to deceive you for their own personal gain. This is someone actively trying to pick the lock on your vault. It could be an employee creating fake invoices, or even a manager manipulating the financial reports. It's a deliberate attack, and it can come from the inside or the outside. And finally, there's the threat of a direct breach. This happens when someone who just shouldn't have access gets into the system. We're talking hackers, maybe a disgruntled former employee, or even just a curious staff member poking around where they shouldn't be. This is a full-blown hole in the fortress wall, and it exposes your most sensitive data to the world. So we've got cracks in the foundation, thieves at the gate, and actual breaches in the wall. Yeah, it sounds pretty grim, I know, but this is where we fight back. We have a master plan to defend our treasure, and that plan is called internal control. So what exactly is an internal control? Well, it's not just one single lock or one single guard. It's the entire defensive system. We're talking about the design of the walls, the strategic placement of the guards, the training they get, and the rules of engagement for everyone who lives inside the fortress. It's the whole shebang. A strong fortress isn't built on luck, right? It's built on 5 foundational pillars. This structure, you'll often hear it called the COSO framework, is pretty much the gold standard. It all starts with the control environment, which is really about the culture and attitude set by leadership. Then risk assessment. That's finding the weak spots in your walls before your enemies do. Next up are the control activities. These are the actual guards, the gates, the procedures. Fourth, we've got information and communication, which makes sure every defender knows their orders. And finally, monitoring. Why? Because a fortress is never, ever left unwatched. Okay, so we have our 5 pillars. That's the foundation of our fortress. Now let's look at the defenses themselves, because they're not all the same. They work in 3 distinct layers, and each one has a really critical job to do. Our first 2 layers of defense are what we call preventive and detective controls. Now, think of it this way. Preventive controls are the high walls and the strong gates. Their entire job is to stop a problem before it can even happen. Detective controls, on the other hand, they're the guards on patrol. Their job is to find any intruder that somehow managed to get past those walls, and you absolutely need both. So what do these high walls look like in the real world? Well, we're talking about things like strong passwords and limiting who can even access sensitive data. A really crucial one is called segregation of duties. That just means no single person has control over an entire process, right? You don't let the person who approves payments also be the one who writes the checks. These are all about being proactive. And what about our guards on patrol? Well, these are things like bank reconciliations, where you compare your records to the bank's to spot any weird discrepancies. Audit trails are great because they let you see who did what and when they did it. Basically, these controls are designed to raise a big red flag the second something goes wrong. And what happens when a guard raises that alarm? That's where our third layer comes in, corrective controls. This is your rapid response repair crew. Their job is to swoop in, fix whatever problem was found, recover any lost data, and, this is the most important part, patch the hole in the wall so it doesn't happen again.
So now that we kind of get the theory, let's see how these controls are actually put to use on the ground, protecting all the different departments of our financial kingdom.
Okay, this is where it all comes together. Let's look at how this armor is custom fitted to different parts of the company. In sales, for example, you use credit limit checks to prevent selling to customers who can't actually pay you back. Over in purchasing, you do a three-way match to make sure you only pay for what you ordered and actually received. For cash, maybe you require 2 signatures on large checks. You see? Each department gets its own specialized set of armor. Now, it's really tempting to think that with all these controls in place, our fortress is totally invincible. But here's the hard truth. Every suit of armor has cracks, and it's so important to understand the built-in limitations of any defense system. Here's the most crucial point. These controls are operated by people, and people, well, we're not perfect. We make mistakes. Sometimes a couple of employees might collude to get around a rule. A powerful manager could just decide to override a procedure. And, sometimes the perfect defense is just way too expensive to build. But this isn't about giving up. It's about having a mindset of constant vigilance and always trying to improve. So if no system is perfect, how do we maintain any trust? Well, that's where auditors come in. Both internal and external auditors, they act as independent inspectors. Their entire job is to walk the perimeter of your fortress, test the strength of the walls, check for those cracks we talked about, and make sure the guards are actually awake and doing their jobs. So there you have it. You have the blueprint. You know the threats, you know the pillars of design, and you know the layers of defense. Your fortress is built. But the work, it's never really done. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Who in your organization is watching the walls? Because a fortress is only ever as strong as its most vigilant guard.